Chair recognizes the gentleman from Oregon, Mr. DeFazio, for 5 minutes.
Today, there are over 800 so-called enterprise carriers from Mexico operating heavy trucks long distance in the United States. Now, what's wrong with that? Well, Mexico doesn't have any drug or alcohol testing of its commercial drivers. Mexico does not have a centralized database of commercial driver's licenses and driving offenses, making it difficult, if not impossible, to track and disqualify drivers who are unsafe, who would be disqualified here in the United States. And in Mexico, truck drivers are pretty much exploited and abused. They don't even have hours of service rules. Some drivers will drive for 1 or 2 days straight. Now, in the United States, of course, we have very restrictive rules for safety on hours of service. And those laws theoretically apply to the 800 Mexican enterprise carriers operating in the United States. However, how many hours did that person drive before they got to the border? 24, 48? Yeah, then they cross over the border and they're limited. Congress objected and voted multiple times by a huge bipartisan majority legislation I supported to say that no, we do not want these Mexican trucks ranging about here in the United States until they can prove that they meet the same standards as our truck drivers. Now, we've had a few offenses, and we don't even put special scrutiny on these enterprise carriers. We have very few inspectors out there, but they've managed to rack up some pretty horrific records on a random basis that raise huge questions about their safety. They had over 900 violations for a driver that cannot read or speak the English language sufficiently to respond to official inquiries, a violation of the law. Over 800 violations for brake-related issues, worn brake hoses, defective brakes, etc. Hundreds of other violations for tire treads, exhaust leaks, oil leaks. One company was fined $40,000. There's only one way to solve this issue, and that is to modify the NAFTA agreement. Remember, this was authorized. They were given national treatment. That is, Mexico is treated as the same as the U.S. They won in one of those secret tribunals a huge judgment against the United States. The Obama administration caved in and allowed to open the door to these unsafe carriers operating in the United States. We can close that door again by just modifying NAFTA. The Trump administration is approaching this issue perhaps as early as next week in the NAFTA negotiations, and this should be at the top of their agenda. We will not give them national treatment. They will have to meet our standards and prove that they've met our standards. They have to develop a meaningful driver's license base. They'll have to have, they have to have drug and alcohol testing. They have to have hours of service, and then we can talk or not they can operate in the United States. We had a system before NAFTA. Mexican truck drivers would bring the trucks just over the border. They were limited on how far they could go. They would drop the trailers. U.S. truck drivers would pick them up. And then there is one other issue here. Are we going to do to our trucking industry what we've done to so many in manufacturing? Are we going to drive down truck drivers' wages? It's already a tough business particularly for independent drivers. Are we going to make them compete with people who are earning $2 an hour and don't have to meet the same rules as they do? That's not fair competition, and it's not good for the American people, not all the jobs or the safety on our highways. So I'm asking the Trump administration to hang tough on this issue and take away this national treatment that we're giving to Mexico, which does not have an equivalent system in the United States, and go to something that's based on reciprocity and equivalence. And that would be a good change to the NAFTA agreement, which, of course, I opposed from day one. With that, I would yield back the balance.